studying accounting to now being a computer science teacher. Then we will talk about where we are, where I am as far as the state of CS computer science in my school and in my district as of this evening. And then, ended up with some different, like I said earlier, tools and resources that I've used as I've gone through this as I go through exploring the different CS opportunities and resources and things that I've used to try and see what works and what doesn't work with my students. So that's where we're headed. So just a little bit about myself. I had to put this in here. This is my first time presenting in a webinar, so please be patient with me. I appreciate that. If I go too fast, please shout it out or put it in the chat, or let Kate know, and she'll give me a thumbs up or something and tell me to slow down a little bit. Education, this is my second career actually, but I'm going into my 22nd year of teaching. Excuse me, my undergrad is in accounting, so that's my original background, and then it just, as you'll see it through the presentation, it just didn't pan out the way that I wanted. It just wasn't there. So I started teaching business education. I started at the high school level, but I've been at the middle school level for these past 14 years, same school district, but this was my third middle school, and this will be my 7th year at this middle school. So hopefully I can be there until I retire. I don't plan on retiring anytime soon, but I have given myself a 10-year limit on retirement. So we'll see. Joined CSTA back in CSTA Delaware. I apologize. I believe it was 2016. Just wanted to learn more, get more knowledge about computer science. When I was going to school, which is, it's been a minute, I'm not sure why, but computer science wasn't something that was really talked about or emphasized when I was going to high school or anything like that. So it just wasn't on my radar, I guess I should say. So, of course, as the years have passed, it's popped up everywhere. It's come about all over the place as far as education. And so I just wanted to learn more about it. So I joined CSTA, and then I began teaching my the actual computer science courses, which I'm teaching now, full-blown science computer CS courses in 2019. Sorry, you can't see the end of that. So it's a little bit about myself. So my journey, it's I say strange, but maybe not. But when I was little, my mom was an educator. She taught, she was a first grade, third grade. I think she did 5th and 6th grade in the beginning of her educational journey, but for 32 years. And I wanted to be like my mom. Of course, I wanted to be like my mom. And so it was all up until probably sometime in maybe middle school or going into high school. I was looking for her one Sunday, and I go into our basement, and she's working on something. She's got this huge book, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm doing my lesson plans for the week. And I'm like, what in the world? So she had this, like I said, it was like 11 by 14 huge book. And when I saw that, I was just like, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. And she was handwriting it. She wasn't computer literate, and computers just weren't the thing at that point in time. And she was handwriting this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, ELA math. And I was like, oh no, absolutely. This is not going to be me. So I switched gears really quick once I saw that, and she explained to me what she was doing. So this is not her lesson plan book. I was actually trying to find one, but I could not find one. But this is kind of what it looked like with all the handwriting, the actual handwriting in there, which, I don't know who does that today. Maybe some, I'll say old school teachers maybe still do that. I know I don't handwrite anything. My handwriting is horrible. So that's one of my main reasons, but that's what she had, which was pretty interesting. So once I saw that book, I was out of there. So I switched up. And then when I was in high school, I had some accounting classes. I enrolled in accounting classes. I really like business, period. Accounting, I took shorthand. If that doesn't date me, I don't know what does. We actually used the typewriters. And I really, really enjoyed it. The teacher who taught it, she was awesome. She was wonderful. She was just so excited and passionate about what she taught. And I just kind of was like, you know what, I think I can do this. I definitely think I can do this. So that's where I decided to change up. And I went into accounting as my major when I graduated from high school. So then the teaching itch comes back. So I did accounting, I graduated, went on to work for a CPA firm in Baltimore. Excuse me. I didn't like that. It just was, I'm a people person, at least I consider myself to be a people person. And I like to, go out and meet people and see people and, talk, right? But with being an auditor, it was just dry to me. And I hope I'm not offending anybody in the audience, but for me personally, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I did that for like, what did I do that? Maybe for about a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I was like, I got to get out of here. So I worked right by Johns Hopkins Hospital. I was right downtown Baltimore, Johns Hopkins Hospital, one of the best hospitals in the world, in my opinion. It was right up the street from where the, accounting firm was that I was working on. So I ended up getting a job there, and I worked my way up to being a senior financial analyst. I worked in the, surgery department. It was called Department of Surgery. And my main thing was pricing out for anybody who needed a transplant of a heart or a lung or, a kidney or whatever organ it may be. That was one of my jobs, was to figure out how much it cost, how much we were going to charge patients. So I thought that was pretty cool. I made journal entries, I did all of that financial kind of stuff, and I definitely enjoyed that. But then again, that started to get a little old. I was in a cubicle by myself in the beginning, which was okay. And then eventually I had a roommate in the cubicle, not the cubicle, but the office wasn't that big to begin with. And then I had to share it with someone. And now I'm like, I don't really like
You
that
weren't
too
into
much.
it.
And then yeah, not at all. And then I ended up, I got married and, started to have kids. And I was like, I think I want to move back home, or I want to do something different. I want to do something where I'm off in the summertime and, all that kind of good stuff. So reached out to my mom, tried to get some contacts from her, and she led me to some people, which led me to the alternative routes program. So I went back to school and I became a likely business teacher because of my accounting background. Obviously that was a smooth fit. So that worked out really well. So I got my, first teaching job was at a rival high school of mine, and I taught there for a year, and it was all computer applications. That was the big thing back there. So it was really a lot of, when I say computer applications, that's what the name of the class was, but I was actually just doing keyboarding. I was teaching keyboarding to,
Basics.
ninth graders. Yeah. Basics, ninth graders, 10th graders, 9 through 12. So that got old as well. So that only lasted a year. Then I ended up getting a job at my alma mater, and I was there for the next 5 years. And it was still computer applications, but I got into the more of the actual applications, where I was teaching them a little bit more about Word, or I was teaching them about Word, not so much all the keyboarding. Keyboarding was a smaller part of it. So then I was doing the, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, and things like that. And so that was at that high school. And then I just like, this is all great and everything, but let's go north. So my progression was coming back north to Delaware. I was born in Wilmington. So these schools where I was started out teaching, I was in lower Delaware. Excuse me. So I ended up getting a job up in the district that I am currently in. So at that point, it was still computer applications. This was about the mid 2007, I believe. Still computer applications, and I'm feeling my way. It's yes.
Sorry, I just want to keep us on time. I
Sure.
am here. I am your webinar support person.
Yes,
I'm keeping you on time.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You can get mad at me. So is this
no.
So yeah, so this is kind of when you were like, I want to progress and kind of move forward with CS or back into teaching.
Well, yes, this is when I, as far as the teaching, but it didn't. I'll keep it moving. I'm sorry. So
no, you're okay. You're also a great storyteller, but I'm just like, hey,
okay.
Let's get down to business here. You're doing great. And
I
think it's great because a lot of people have backgrounds similar, and you're not the only person who has a second career here at all.
Right. It's just, I don't know. I just feel as though I have to tell this whole part.
I hear you. I hear you.
I'll speed up a little, but yeah.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Once I got to the second middle school in the district is when I started learning about hour of code. That's when it started to kind of hit me. Well, what is it? What is this coding stuff? What is everybody talking about? What is block coding? And I'm like, oh, well, this is something new, whatever. And I was actually on my way out of that middle school because of turnover once again. So I went to the third middle school, which, like I said, is where I am now. And that's where I really started to devise and figure out what I wanted to do with regards to coding was concerned. I didn't have any computers. I was so used to working with a complete lab where I had 30 computers. And then where I went to the school that I am now, there were none. There were 10 computers that were sitting on the wall in the room that I had. So I couldn't do it at first because I didn't have any computers. So what I did was I was doing I wasn't even doing computer applications at that point either. I was doing financial literacy, and then I was doing career development, career prep, things like that. And then as the hour of code and all of the coding, chatter started picking up, I was like, let me look into this some more. So I started looking into it some more. Okay. And this is where really I started to really start enjoying what I'm really, currently doing right now. So I joined edweb.net, which, maybe some of you all know about, but I joined them and joined one of the communities, which was a coding and robotics community. And I would attend different webinars through them. And apparently I got the attention of this Wonder Workshop. Wonder Workshop was the sponsor of one of the communities. So, with the coding and everything, I was just like, I was never a coder. I was never a coder. Like I said, I went to school for accounting. I didn't know anything about coding. It scared me. What I did know about computer science, it really scared me. That was the only negative thing that I had about it, that I, thought about it. But after joining EdWeb and then Wonder Workshop, and Wonder Workshop asked me to be a part of this middle school program where they were rolling out a new robot, which his name is Q. And it was a robot for middle school students. So I was like, yeah, this is great. Sure. And then you also were able to get a free robot that you could use and test out. So I really started to teach more of coding. I started leaning back on the financial literacy and other stuff. And I started doing more of the coding stuff with code.org. Okay. And using the robots. And these are a couple, if you guys can see the pictures, these are the robots that we used. Well, really, the black one was the middle school one, and then the blue one is for elementary school. But that really helped me out. That really helped me with confidence, getting my confidence up. They released it, and then that year, which I believe was 2017, I want to say is when this was. I did my first hour of code was in 2017, and I used that robot to kind of, help us. There's anything that's like a toy to the kids and to me as well, to be quite honest with you. They loved it. So they were really, really engaged, and we had iPads. The school gave us an iPad for the teachers. So at that point, I only had mine that we could use. So, I was limited in resources, but we loved doing that. So these are talking about the students participated. We had various activities. I had a Google Doodle that we did in Scratch. Like I said, we did the code.org hour of code activities. I had a speaker, a gentleman come in. He came in and helped us out. And Edmodo sponsored something, a creativity contest where we won, and they sent us more, items to use. So that was really cool after the fact, of course, but it was fun. And that kind of got the kids really to know about what hour of code was. And it was when I would kind of ask students, have you ever done any coding before? Have you ever done? Very few of them would say yes. Very, very few of them. Or they might say, yeah, they've heard of it, but they haven't done anything. So it was ripe. It was ripe for the picking, as they say, for me to really start tackling this. So
quick question, Gail,
go ahead.
because
Yes,
there's questions so is Q still around? Are you still using Q?
I am.
The first question. And then secondly is, I know Janet had a question, is you have used resources from code.org. I see. Okay. All right. It looks like we got it in the chat. Sounds like there was a couple kind of starter things that helped you to kind of move forward.
Yes, yes. So here are some pictures from that first hour of code for my students. Looks like these are mostly 8th graders, if they're in blue, working on the hour of code activities. This is the speaker and one of my students as they were working with the iPad. Here they are out in the hallway with Q, the one little lone robot, but that's fine. You know, I didn't mind that. And then after, you know, they went through and we completed the hour of code. We, you know, took pictures with them. These are 7th graders over here. Well, this one is 7th graders with the gray, and then took a picture. So of course, you know, middle school kids, they love taking pictures as well. So that was my first one. I felt as though it was very successful. It was, you know, the faculty loved it. You know, we put it in our newsletter and all that kind of stuff. So they loved it. Administration loved it. So it was pretty cool. And then we had some, like I said, we did some scratch doodles as well. And I made this, I try and make everything competitive, or I like to make everything competitive because that's kind of how I am. So we did a doodle contest, and these aren't necessarily the winners. These are just some that I picked from the project folder that I had for that. But these are some of the doodles that they had done. And of course, some of them are animated, so I can't, you know, show you what they look like, but they did a good job. You know, some of them, again, were familiar with it, Scratch and things like that. And some of them just were not at all, or coding. So then I was like, okay, well, we need an after school coding program or a robotics, whatever. We need something. We need something. First hour of code was a success. We don't have a computer science program at all in school. Nobody is teaching anything that I know of. And I had been there, you know, for a few years. So I knew kind of what everybody was teaching. So I wrote a proposal. If we weren't going to get a course right now, can we at least get an after school club? So I wrote a proposal to my administrator back in January of 2018. And he is such a wonderful administrator to have. I really enjoy working with him. And he's also a former business teacher, as I am. You know, he's CTE, so he gets it. He gets it as far as being a CTE person. And he approved it. It's like, no problem, you know, absolutely no problem. I said, you know, I wasn't looking for any monies or any EPers is what we call it in Delaware for it. But I just wanted to get something out there so that the kids can be involved with it, so that they could learn more about, you know, coding and the robotics and the STEAM and all those things that they're hearing. They're hearing about it, but where did they get to show it besides maybe at home? You know what I mean? Where else do they get to learn more about it in school? It wasn't happening at our school. So I did that. It was approved. And so that's when what I call the Robotics Club, that's when it was born. So I started it having students in about it was approved January, I think in March. So it was the end of the school year. So I think in March of 2018, I had maybe 7, I think, members of the club. And I just kind of went around, you know, I asked different teachers who you think might be interested. And you also had to be able to provide your own transportation because there was no after school transportation. So that's always a limitation for some students as well. So, excuse me, here are some pictures from 2018, the first group members. I couldn't find in time anyway. I couldn't find a group picture. I know I have one somewhere, but just some different things that we were doing. We did the NASA. I bought this Lego kit where it was the women of NASA, and they put that together. Oh, my fault. Then they worked on we had not the Ozobot. We had an Ozobot. So one of the activities I had them do was one of the assignments, well, I won't say assignment, but one of the after school activities we had is they had to research where they were born, what state were they born in, and then they were to make a path using the Ozobot of the different places, you know, significant places within the state where you were born. So that's what the 2 pictures at the bottom are. I think one on the left here is Delaware, and I'm not sure what this one is on the right, but that was that. And we also had a little bit. So there's a student working on the little bits over here. So
that's awesome. Quick question, Gail. It looks like
yes.
Linda asked, I think you kind of referenced this as like, how did you yourself get prepared to teach coding, and like, you know, what PD was that also through code.org, or kind of what did you use to prepare?
Yes. Yes, code.org. It was through EdWeb, you know, just attending the various webinars that they would have in that particular community that I had signed up with.
Mhm.
And it's like once you sign up for one, you start getting a lot of,
Yeah.
at least I am. I get a lot
They
of
find
emails
you.
from different other organizations. So I was like, yeah, yes, they do. So I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good. Let me go to this one. Let me go to that one.
Mhm.
So I kind of inundated myself with just trying to learn it on my own. I attended, I think, 2 or 3 different code.org PD sessions here in Delaware that they had sponsored. So I went to those, but yeah, just trying to teach myself if there were any free courses out there to
Resources.
learn. Yeah,
Mhm.
resources, you know, that kind of thing. It was just whatever came across my email that I thought would be interesting to help me out. Cause I'm a toy person. I love toys. I love things
Mhm.
that move and interact with each other and talk. So I was like, you can write these coding things or write it, or better yet for me, you can just drag it. It looks like a puzzle, a pretty puzzle, and it makes this move. Oh yeah, I'm in. You
Nice.
know, so that's
That's
kind of how I
awesome.
was.
And I will say you
Mhm.
also joined CSTA, right?
And
So I
absolutely,
gotta plug that.
absolutely.
I gotta plug
Yeah,
that in.
oh yeah, absolutely. I apologize, but yeah, that was 2016. That was one of the very first things. I was like, well, CS computer science. Yeah, let me go ahead and do this. That and I know they have a lot of resources, so let me do that. Let me start attending the meetings, you know, and see what's out there. And at that time, I was, you know, just a not just, but I was considered the business teacher, but I was
Mhm.
still again trying to learn as much as I could to bring more of the coding aspect into the class.
Nice. Awesome. All right. And then it looks like we're about at 6, or at least central time, 6:26. So we want to
Okay,
make sure we have the time for kind of like lessons learned and the tools you used as well.
got it.
But
All
you're
right,
doing
here we go.
great.
All right,
I'm your
super.
cheerleader, Gail.
Thank you. All right. So then in the 18-19 school year, I just mentioned that, you know, the momentum is there. The after school club is doing really well. We had scratch projects and all that kind of stuff that we were still doing, that I was introducing to my students just on a side, I guess you can say, because it still wasn't a dedicated course. But it just so happens that in March of 2019, again, March is I guess a magical month, towards the end of the year, our district instructional technology person happened to be visiting the building, and she was doing some visits. And she happened to come to my room, or our school's technology person specialist happened to bring her to my room. So on that, I'm not sure what it was going on specifically. I know they were working on a scratch project um, at that time, and that's what she saw them doing. And she was just like, oh my gosh, look at them. Like, your classroom management is so on point. They're so into it. They're, you know, they're asking each other questions and so on and so forth. And so she pulled me out in the hallway and she was like, would you be interested in teaching coding? And I was just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Yes, like emphatically, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. She said that the then assistant to the superintendent wanted to bring coding or computer science classes to the middle school level. And I was like, where has this been all my life, so to speak? So I was like, yes, absolutely. She's like, all right, well, I'm gonna write your name down. And what I plan on doing is having a planning meeting over the summertime so that we can talk about it. And so that's what we ended up doing. We had a planning meeting that summer. It was only 3 of us. It was her name is Samantha, and another teacher named Shane, and myself. And he was from another middle school, and then obviously I was from my middle school. But we have actually 4 middle schools in the district, so I'm not sure where the other ones, why they didn't come. But either way, we worked it out. We were told through Samantha and I guess her supervisors and bosses and whatnot, we were starting out for 7th and 8th graders, and we were going to use the CodeHS program. That was the platform that we were going to use starting with the 2019-2020 school year. So that's what we started doing. That's what I was doing. And that's what I'm still doing at this particular time. I teach for the 7th graders, it's a totally different class. For the 8th graders, you know, it's a totally different class. It's still CodeHS, but we're still doing the same thing. Robotics Club is still doing well. and then I said COVID came, of course, and that kind of just
Mhm.
kind of threw a wrench in everybody's schedule, as we
It's
all know.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't happen. We were going to meet that summer again just to see how things went and discuss if we wanted to change, use another platform, but COVID came, that knocked it out. And then unfortunately, that person, a district technology specialist, she ended up leaving our district and she went someplace else. So we didn't have the meeting. So I just continued to use CodeHS. I was already familiar with it, and I wasn't going to try and retrain myself in a month to try and come up with something new. I knew it,
Right.
so I was good to go, you know.
Mhm.
So the school year started remotely, so that was a little hard, especially for sixth graders who I'd never seen before. Most of my seventh and eighth graders, I knew them from previous years, but sixth graders, it was a little hard, but we got through it. We definitely got
Mhm.
through it. And Robotics Club, that's still running strong. We just met via Zoom. We couldn't do anything after school. We even ended up having a virtual family codeathon STEAM event this past spring, which was well attended. We tried to do one every spring, and then also in December during Computer Science Education Week. So we didn't do one obviously in the winter of 2020. It was just too difficult, but I was like, we got to get one out of here during the school year. So we did one in the spring.
Mhm.
So it worked out really well. Yeah.
Nice.
So as the school year kind of was coming to a close, I was like, what are other schools doing? I was trying to figure out what were they doing. And also I wanted to see, what we could do different. Do we want to stick with CodeHS? And actually one of my colleagues, she's on the call. She's in the audience tonight. And we would speak because she teaches, I'm sorry, at one of the other middle schools. And we would talk a lot about, what do we want to do? What do we want to do? And the biggest thing is every building is different, how they're managed and the number of students and the scheduling and all that stuff. So it was really kind of hard to really get a feel for what was going on. But I do know that we have the 3 high schools and only one of them teaches computer science classes. And then elementary level, I kind of reached out to our elementary teachers, which we have 16 of them, elementary school teachers, to ask who teaches anything, coding or STEAM or STEM, and what do you do, and how many kids do you reach, and so on and so forth. So I heard back from almost about 7 of them, and they gave me some good, dialogue as far as what they do. So I'm hoping that going forward that we can try and connect with what they're doing so that we know what those kids who are coming into our middle schools are doing. And then
Right.
we know
And
also at the high school level how we can prepare our students to be ready for whatever they're going to be learning at the high
right.
school level.
And what
Yeah,
to expect and how to foster that. We're
absolutely.
about at the halfway mark, Gail.
All right. So I'm almost done.
You are doing so good.
So where we're headed, I said, for my school, I know I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing for the past 2 years, still doing computer science classes to all of the grades. Having Robotics. I also am the advisor for something called Technology Student Association, which is another CTE student club. District-wide, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure, but I will say that there has been, my principal reached out to me and was like, hey, are you teaching computer science classes? And I'm thinking, why are you asking me if I'm teaching them? Sure I am. Shouldn't you know?
Oh my
But
gosh.
but he, like I said, he's a good guy though. He's a good guy, and he does what's best for the students. So I was like, yes, absolutely. So what he was telling me was that his supervisor, who I guess is the person in charge of curriculum for the district, they were having a meeting. They wanted to know which teachers were going to be teaching CS so that they can get them all together, because I guess we're going to be using CodeHS next year or this upcoming school year, because it was a meeting with CodeHS. So I'm not sure where we are district wide, but I do know what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to continue doing what I've been doing. And then I just put this blurb in here about this. I think it's in response to this DDOE. They have this revisions to a code 25, and this code hadn't been revised in like 9 years. So I'm thinking now districts might be trying to get on board and saying, oh, maybe we should do more with computer science and all that kind of stuff.
Oh my
You know how that
gosh.
kind of goes. Yeah.
Right.
So my lessons learned basically, pursue what you're passionate about. I'm really passionate about this. I mean, I'm passionate about teaching, but I'm really passionate about the aspect of teaching these new concepts to these kids. I'm always saying, you know, they are consumers. They're constantly on games. They constantly want to play this, want to play that. They're constantly on their phones, blah, blah, blah. Well, how about if you learn all of the aspects of getting to that Minecraft game or that Roblox or that GTA, you know, all those things that you play and the texting and all that. Why don't you figure out how you can be one of those people to develop that stuff? That's my whole goal and mindset. Be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like I said, I have no coding experience, and I tell my kids I'm not completely, just because I'm your teacher doesn't mean that I know everything. So if I'm not sure about something, I'll try and find out, but just know that I don't know it all. I don't know it. And I do make mistakes. So this is still new to me. I'm learning when you're learning. And I know some of you probably know more than I do. And I welcome that. Attend workshops, conferences that are outside of what you normally teach to learn. I've attended several workshops and conferences for guidance counselors. Like, what are they learning about computer science? And they were specifically for computer science. What are you learning about computer science that you are doing to help our kids or the kids in your building to become more familiar with CS? So I've attended several of those. I've attended math ones, math workshops and science workshops, just to see, you know, what are they talking about and how can I bring this into my curriculum as well? It's great to have an administrator who's supportive. Like I said, he's a great guy. I love working with him, and pretty much whatever I ask him for, he's like, absolutely, I trust you. You know, you're great, and all that kind of stuff. So that's always great. And attend your local meetings, your CSTA meetings, your CSTA conferences and summits. There's so much information that I've learned, even from this past, you know, July, from the July's meeting and, you know, the summits and all that kind of stuff from CSTA. There's just so much good stuff out there. It's like almost too much that I can't even go through everything all the time. But I'd rather have too much than not enough, to be quite honest with you. And then my last slide here, just some of the different tools and resources, just the different things that I've used. Not always, but things that I've used: CodeHS, a free version, Scratch, code.org, Computer Science Education Week, that website, especially during, you know, that week in December, I really used that. The posters, I used the posters. I got the posters off of there, printed them off, and had a nice little display in my room and on my door and stuff like that. Wonder Workshop, it's a robotics competition that before COVID, my students participated in for those 2 years. We always got to that second level, but we can never break through and win that $5,000 STEM grant, but we're going to try again this year. Common Sense Media has some great digital citizenship curriculum in there that I would use to supplement what I was teaching for CodeHS. So does PBS Learning Media. Students in my club have participated in, well, we tried to do the Samsung Software Tomorrow. That didn't go too well. We did participate in e-cyber mission a couple of months ago. And then all the Amazon stuff, like Amazon has been great. Amazon and CoderZ have been great. The chats have been awesome. I've met some really great people through the Amazon chats this past school year that I still keep in touch with. The future engineers, as far as the Georgia Tech, there's an ear sketch, a music competition where they're using JavaScript to code. Of course, CoderZ, which you're going to find out a little bit more about, that cyber robotics challenge. I think I first did that in 2018 with my students, to be honest with you. Yeah, I think I first did that with them then, and they enjoyed it. They actually brought it up. Some of my students that I had in 2018 in my club, they were like, well, why don't we do this? When I was like, well, what are we going to do? Because everything's virtual. I can't meet. Well, why don't we do that one, you know, with those big robots that we would program on the screen? I was like, oh yeah, that's right. So we did that again this year, but like I said, with the, you know, everything being virtual, it was hard to kind of monitor kids. I could do it online and only had one of the students who did anything. So that was kind of a fail, at least I thought. But, and then the fulfillment center, which I haven't done, another Amazon Future Engineers project, they have the tours for your classes. So I will definitely be using that this year. And all of these things, I'll be using that. But the fulfillment center tours, I've not done that yet. That just learned about it towards the end of the year, but I will definitely be doing that.
Right. I heard that. Yep. That's great. Yep. Awesome. Well, Gail, thank you so much. I just want to say thank you for being transparent about where you're at, where you are in the process. And it's very difficult. it's extremely difficult. And I think we have folks in the audience that are at different levels.
Mhm.
And I think the one thing I wanted to say is we did have an administrator track during the CSTA conference, and we are
Mhm.
exploring and open to supporting administrators on moving forward, and
Mhm.
things like TSA and kind of the after school program and computer science honor program. If you're interested, is a good way to get that awareness. But
Okay.
yeah, Gail, it looks like you put
Great.
your email here if folks have
Yep.
questions and want to reach out.
Absolutely. Yep, that's the best way to contact me. If you can, if I can be of any assistance, and I'm always looking for help, or anything that I said in here that didn't make any sense, or you can perhaps help me as I progress through this, trying to push this forward. I am open and willing to take any, criticism or hints or whatever you have for me. Absolutely, shoot me an email. I'll definitely respond.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will say another really great way to connect that's free. So feel free to grab Gail's email here. Is we do have a public virtual community. So if you're a CST
Yeah.
member, you've heard about it. I know. Well, I'll get you less emails. That is a great place to kind of connect with folks and ask questions, because I'm seeing some questions in the chat that we have seen before and that folks
Right.
are answering in different threads on there.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. All
Awesome.
right.
And so I think Ashlyn from CoderZ is going to talk a little bit about some of the free things that are available on
All
there.
right.
So if you
Want
want to
me to
go,
stop share, or want me to go ahead and click to the next slide?
yeah, I think next slide would be great.
Absolutely.
Got it.
So like Gail just took us through her experience with computer science at her district, it is a journey, right? It's something that we're not quite there yet, but that's okay, because there are definitely forces that are out there that are recognizing the importance of it and are making it more widely available to all students, which clearly is a huge need and is definitely the direction we need to be going. So with CoderZ, CoderZ is so we are sponsoring today's webinar, and we are a, thank you, Kate, for the little happy arms. So we are a virtual coding and robotics curriculum and platform. And we are really happy to be partnered with CSTA. We know that it's an incredible community of educators that are doing incredible work nationwide, and that's our goal. We want coding for everyone. We want computational thinking in every classroom, no matter what the subject, no matter what the teacher. So, and we also have our global virtual robotics competitions as well. So if you would not mind going to the next slide, Gail. Something that Gail mentioned is, I think, really interesting. So she talked a little bit about the Amazon Cyber Robotics Challenge. Now, the Amazon Cyber Robotics Challenge is a great toe dip into CoderZ for your students. It is a 3-hour course where your students have a very concrete task they have to accomplish. They have to work with the robots in an Amazon fulfillment center to get a package delivered to their best friend in time for their birthday, which I'm sure we've all ordered that last minute gift on Amazon and really, really hoped that that 2-day prime shipping is going to actually pull through. Oh, hey, look, Kate, look at that. This is, again, it is free. First off, right off the bat, it's a free 3-hour course that you can use with your students. And again, it takes you through that concrete task and gives you an idea of what coding with CoderZ is like, kind of shows you the platform. There is a teacher toolkit included with standards alignment. Now, I think the great thing about CoderZ is that it is very easy for any teacher of any level to kind of introduce to their students and not be too worried about their own experience with coding or not. So it is, again, wonderful toe dip into CoderZ. See if you like it, see if your students like it, very concrete task. And it's just really fun. I would also recommend, again, as Gail mentioned earlier, including it with that 1-hour live virtual field trip. Amazon will put you in touch with an Amazon engineer who will actually meet with you live on video call and will take you on a tour of the factory and the fulfillment center. And there you go. You've got 4 hours. That to me sounds like a great first week of school introduction to get your students on the computers, doing stuff, actually going through an activity and coding. And then that way you get to walk around the building and your principal ducks their head into your room and they're like, oh, Gail's coding on the first week of school. Isn't Gail amazing? Which we all know anyways, but now the administrator knows it too. So I think that this is a really wonderful thing. And if you want to go to the next slide, Gail.
And it looks like there is a question about like age group, if you want to address that as well. Like who is this designated for?
The age group honestly is any age group. This can be done for probably you need them to be able to read. So 3rd grade is about the place at which it's probably the lowest you're going to go, but it can go all the way up to high school. And if you are teaching a high school AP computer science course, probably not the first place to start. But even so, it can be a very fun, engaging challenge for them to do and to see, again, putting those skills into a very practical, hands-on application that's very real world. Now, so the other thing that we're really excited about is Amazon partnered with us to create that Amazon Cyber Robotics Challenge. And they were so happy with it. What they did is they actually reached out to us and they told us that they wanted to underwrite the first 6 months of curriculum access for any Title I district that is interested in using CoderZ. So if you are in a coder or if you are in a Title I district, for 6 months, you can actually get access to the full CoderZ suite of curriculum and platform software so that you can use it in your classroom for 6 months, which gets you a good way through the school year. So it's absolutely a great way for you to, again, do that toe dip in with the Amazon Cyber Robotics Challenge and then continue it on in your classroom. Yeah, so if we have any questions, these are 4 of the course levels that we have designed. So they build on each other: Cyber Robotics, CoderZ Adventure 101, 102, and Python Gym. Starts off in Blockly and builds to Python. The Blockly is Java based, but it's, again, very user friendly and makes it really nice for just about anybody to teach.
Awesome. And people can sign up at any time to do the challenge, or is it what does that look like? If someone's interested, should they get it set up for their students ahead of time, or like what does that process look like?
So we can absolutely put you in touch with one of our wonderful customer support individuals who are very happy to walk you through that process and make sure that you feel supported at all times. Feel free to contact, as Gail has said, contact them at any point in time. They're very friendly, very helpful. So I would recommend, probably if you want it for the full 6 months and you want it to be accessible to your students, I would recommend that maybe you start on your own doing the Amazon Cyber Robotics Challenge and working through it. And then at that point, when your students come in, I would recommend going ahead and getting in touch to start these 6 months of
Mhm.
full courses when your students are able to actually get in and do it.
Right. And I will say, I think you put this in the chat, is we've definitely had a lot of CST members actually go through this and do the challenge. And actually some people on the board of CSTA actually have done the 3-hour challenge. So it's definitely interesting. So if anything, I would say dip your toes into it. And as if we're having this conversation around district implementation, it's, getting that awareness of maybe you start an honor society, work to have a TSA or your after school robotics club and do something like this, get some of that awareness and hype. And who knows what kind of fundraising awareness and grants can start to trickle down from that. And that's what we've seen is can take something to just sparks that conversation with an administrator or your principal that has so much else going on that it's like, oh, this is important. This is interesting. This started off free. Let's move forward with this.
Absolutely. And don't forget that, I mean, with all the federal funding coming out as a result of the pandemic, there is a lot of federal dollars out there right now to support implementation of meaningful curriculum that is going to have a demonstrable impact on your students going forward.
Definitely. Awesome. Well, Ashlyn, thank you so much. I know we kind of shared a couple different things this evening, but what we'll do from here, Ashlyn, were you done? Sorry, I wasn't sure if you had another slide or two.
Absolutely. I'm happy to keep going, but I'm happy to have
Why
you.
don't, sorry, I'm so sorry. Why don't you go ahead and finish up? I
no,
just
no,
was going to tell people. Okay, great. I was just going to say what to expect next is we know some people had to cut out early or are interested in some resources is we usually share a recording of the webinars and then we'll link all the different resources actually in the slide decks you'll be able to use and some other things that we talked about in the chat. Usually I follow up about that, but yeah, this link down here, Ashlyn, is that where they should go to kind of investigate more about CoderZ?
Absolutely. That is one link. I will drop another link in the chat that will take you directly to a great place to start. I myself, I am the content manager, so I create all the content for us, including this wonderful webinar posted by our amazing Gail. So I highly recommend you check out the blog. It is absolutely chock full of resources, lesson plans, think pieces or thought pieces, lots of stuff that is kind of on the edge of computer science education right now. So I really recommend that you check that out. But I am grabbing that link for you right now. I'm going to drop it in the chat, and that's a great place to start.
Awesome, great. And don't worry if you missed Gail's email or any of the links in the chat is I will go ahead and follow up with those usually a couple days after the webinar. But yeah, is there any questions? If so, go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll, give a minute or two for questions and then kind of wrap up. Also, no pressure if there's no questions. Great. So I think this might be for Ashlyn. She asked, is this at a group project or for individual students about how this kind of moves forward?
You can have as many students as you want or as few students as you want. So everyone essentially gets their own virtual robot. So that's one of the huge benefits of CoderZ is that you don't have to do your number of robots versus your number of students, but everybody gets to code their own virtual robot that they can't break. So you can group your students together and have them work in a kind of collective way, or you can have them on an individual map. And we do have heat maps built in with our software, so you can kind of see where everyone is, who's progressing at what rate, and that allows you to kind of differentiate and intervene as needed. So yes and no, you can do it either, but it's very malleable to any situation.
Great, good question. All right, any other questions folks want to ask us before we wrap up?
I didn't have a question. I had a comment.
All right, go ahead,
Is that
Rhonda.
okay?
Yeah.
Gail, you need to call me. That wasn't my comment though.
So Rhonda and Gail are in the same district.
I got you, Rhonda.
I wanted to comment on CoderZ, particularly because we don't really know, or I'll speak for my district. I don't really know if we're going to be in the building or out of the building. But one of the things that drew me to it specifically is that if you go on and do the, I think it's the adventure, no, it's the 3-hour program. If you go in and do that, what I liked is it's based on real world, and this would be my suggestion, do the 3-hour lesson first, and then go and look at the video for the fulfillment center, because then that activates what you actually did beforehand. And you could see what the students would be seeing and experiencing it. So I like that. I wouldn't have to worry about decontaminating any of my robots parts, microbits, alligator clips, any of that. But I also liked how engaging that I thought it would be for my students, because one of the things that I like to do with my students is I like to entertain them and bring them in before they realize they're learning. That's what I want, programs that do that for me.
Yeah.
And so far, and I've been working with CoderZ probably in the last month, just going through it. I already made a pre-test for it, if you're interested, Gail. But yeah, so I liked it for that reason.
Wonderful. And that's an amazing point, Rhonda. And like I think we're all looking for the way to kind of trick them into learning without them realizing it too quickly. And you're right, CoderZ doing the 3-hour course first, and then the 1-hour virtual field trip is, again, wonderful way to frame that real world application, showing them learning in context, and it just makes it so much easier for them to understand and appreciate and possibly see as a future for themselves.
Right. And I think that's a great point that you brought up, Rhonda, about, I just love that you're both in the same district, is that, you know, some places students will not be in the classroom, and some will, and some are hybrid. We're seeing that in different places still. And so it's, what can you do at this time? Or maybe we get back to that place of just all virtual. So that's a really great point. Awesome. Well, I want to be mindful of everyone's time. I appreciate, Gail, I know you said you were nervous. I thought you did a great job. You're a great storyteller, a great educator. So snaps for Gail. Rhonda, thanks for contributing. And Ashlyn, thanks for kind of showing us a little bit more about CoderZ. And this is what CSTA is about. We're bringing folks in for the conversation and figuring out what works best for you. Awesome. I'm seeing some, oh my gosh, more great things.
Yeah.
I do not have, I'm looking at the comment, I do not have a CS teaching background. Most people don't in the STA, they don't. So I'll go ahead and answer this question. We'll close out, is where do you suggest I begin providing these activities from the library? Rhonda, Gail, do you have any suggestions? As educators
Rhonda,
on this
you want
call?
to jump on that one?
Actually, you can start anywhere you want. I would suggest that you look at a couple of the programs that you that are short term. So like go to Hour of Code, research quite a few hours of code, and you can bring those in because they shouldn't take more than one classroom. So if you start with the Hour of Code, then you'll be able to find more resources that are free that you can do in short periods of time. And then you have to decide if you're going to include what's called unplugged activities. And unplugged activities are quite effective, and you can do them in the library with the kids, and they don't necessarily carry over until, I don't know how often you're going to see the kids. But I didn't like, so this is my own personal opinion. I don't want to offend anybody, but CodeHS was not it for me. And Gail and my background is a little bit different. It didn't work for me because it did not engage my students enough to make them want to continue. I drug them all the way. I felt like I was pulling teeth every day. So I didn't really like it because it didn't trick them into it being fun. I want my kids to come in. I want the class to be noisy. I want them to have fun. And then, oh, by the way, once they're engaged and they've built something, now I want them to persevere in the hard work of making it work. And only when they've done that build, that arts and craftsy part of it, do they really, I don't know what the HS stands for. I should know, but it's not coming to me right now.
High school?
Is it high school?
I think so, to be honest with you. I think so.
I don't know, but for me, CodeHS wasn't exciting enough
Not
for
engaging.
my students to want to do it.
Yeah.
And
sorry not to cut you off, Rhonda. I think that's important. And like, Rhonda, I feel like you should give me life advice, is thinking moving forward is not everything's going to work for your students. And it is okay to be transparent about that, because each one of our classrooms is going to be completely different of what clicks and what doesn't. So I think that's a really great highlight. And that's why there's so many different resources out there. Thank you for sharing that. So I'm going to go ahead and follow up in a few days with the recording, all sorts of resources, and then a follow-up on some of the things we talked about in the chat of like, hey, this was highlighted and this was brought up, just so we have that kind of closure. Otherwise, we shared Gail's email. You can always reach me at membership. I'll go ahead and drop it in here. Otherwise, you hear from me all the time. Membership, you can drop me a line if you need anything. Otherwise, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And we will see you online. And thanks everyone for all you do. It's been a really crazy year, and we appreciate when you take out a little bit of time to come learn a little bit. So we appreciate that.
Great. I'm dropping my email in the chat too. Renee, if you have any questions or you would like some guidance on building that for your ask for your district, I'd love to be a part of that.
Awesome. Great. Yeah. Little connections. I love it. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone. Have a great night. Be safe, and we'll see you online, and look for that follow up in a few days. Okay.
All right. Thank you,
All
everyone.
right. Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.
All right. We'll see you. Thanks,
See ya.
Gail.
Bye. You're welcome.